In 2508, a planet-cracking operation goes horrifically wrong. The colonists on a planet known as Aegis 7 within the Cygnus system had started becoming unhinged, with what seems to be a side effect of deep space mining with insomnia taking place, followed by depression. However, they would soon find an object within the wilderness of this rather dead planet, something that would make them feel wholesome, something that was once thought lost. The red marker. The Church of Unitology would have this long-lost relic returned to them. However, once the obelisk was removed from its holy ground, all hell would break loose. People would go mad, killing their colleagues and friends. People would claim seeing things in the corner of their eyes. Others would be scared of what was to come. A ship known as the USG Ishimura had arrived, stationing in orbit around the planet. The planet cracker was dispatched to retrieve the marker and return it to the church after the planet cracking event had concluded. However, what would soon follow would send out the message that only the dead may survive. As the marker had made it on board, the crew would start to reel from the same effects plaguing the colony, with insomnia and depression following to haunt them, making them feel stressed and uneasy at most times, with a sense of impending doom coming for them. As the planet crack had concluded, an ancient evil had awoken and started claiming the colonists' flesh for their own, recombinating those who had fallen, transforming and twisting their forms into something born out of a nightmare, which would breed necromorphs. Some of the colonists who were able to would flee to the safety of the orbiting Ishimura. What came with them, however, brought a blanket of death and untold horrors that would consume the entire ship. A distress call would be issued out, and the corporation who had organized the event would send a team to find out the origin for that call. Among them was an engineer named Isaac Clarke, who embarks on a grisly and terrifying journey through the corrupted planet cracker to unknowingly end the nightmare. Within the darkness, Isaac would find death and betrayal. However, throughout all of his struggles, he would succeed and escape the terror before everything else had been destroyed. Within his journey, Isaac would keep a journal, which may surprise some people, seeming as he was a mute character. However, the developers of the game and the story may have thought to add his own commentary of the events unfolding to give his unique perspective, allowing his personality to come out. In this video, we'll be looking through these entries and see if there's anything to make of them, and who knows, we might even be able to find an early script for the remake within Isaac's thoughts as he travels through the corrupted and demented halls of the Ishimura. When Isaac has arrived inside of the Ishimura looks like it's in bad shape, and the shuttle is going to need extensive repair. Where the hell is the flight crew? Within Isaac's professional experiences to do with engineering, he would be able to tell that the ship is in a bad state, even when he has not seen the extent of the damage on a diagnostics console. Isaac has also been on board the Ishimura before, earlier in his career, so he would be able to know of the standard procedures. Before, there would be at least a few members of the flight crew to greet visitors, or to show new crew members around, or to at least take them to their dorm rooms within the crew deck. Hammond would tell Isaac to help them into the flight lounge, where he would think, "I could use my uniform's rig to interface with the Ishimura's holographic display system." Since Isaac has done work on board the Ishimura before, his rig system would be instantly recognized by the Ishimura, allowing him to override certain panels and to open doors. As Isaac is cut off from the others, the necromorphs would make their presence known, and Isaac, terrified of these recombinated crew members, would be thinking, "We've been attacked! I'm cut off from Hammond and Kendra. I've got to find somewhere safe, somewhere to hide." Isaac, seeing these monsters for the first time, would be scared, but would be thinking rationally, knowing that he is outnumbered, and without anything to help fight off the hordes, he would have to run and find somewhere safe, leading him towards the elevator. Kind of like how a predator attacks a prey, what does the prey do? They run, try to find their den, or somewhere safe to hide. or at least safe enough to plan a way for them to get out of the engagement. Throughout Isaac's next objective of repairing the tram units, he starts to get the feeling that someone has been deliberately disrupting the tram station, which could be the foreshadowing to Dr. Kyne, seeming as he was the one that had scuttled the ship to try and prevent the horrors trapped within the Ishimura from making it back to Earth. Once Isaac has fixed the tram station and received a new directive from Hammond, he would make his way back up to the flight lounge, thinking, Hammond wants me to prep the Kellion for launch. Despite the damage it took on our landing, I could probably get it functional, but I'm not sure how far we can get inside of it. Isaac at this time would be feeling shaken from defending himself from the necromorphs, but would be confident that he could repair the Kellion, so that they can make their escape from this nightmare. But he would also feel that they may not get too far due to the damage it has received. Isaac would be travelling to the medical bay, thinking to himself, the captain's body made it down to the morgue, presumably before the ship was totally compromised. Nicole worked on this deck. Maybe I could find something, anything, showing that she's still alive. This entry shows Isaac being hopeful towards finding his beloved, giving him more of an emotional personality. After Isaac had gotten a hold of the rig codes for Hammond, he would make his way to the engineering deck, thinking, so the infection started planetside and somehow got onto the ship, and these creatures came from within the planet? It's almost too incredible to believe. Hammond needs me on the engineering deck now, to try and correct the ship's orbit, as if things couldn't get any worse. As Isaac thinks, too incredible to believe. Many could think that is a sign of fascination, however I think it's a sign of he just truly cannot believe what is conspiring within the ship. That something in the universe has the capability to recombinate dead tissue and bring it to a new form of twisted life. As Hammond gives Isaac the news and his next task, he would start to think, I find it hard to believe that the Ishimura ran out of fuel. They haven't been on a mission long enough for that. Either the fuel lines are disengaged or something very bad has happened. Isaac would be thinking this probably because the chance that someone had miscalculated the amount of fuel that they would be needing for the journey, waiting time, and the journey back is pretty slim. This would reinforce the feeling that someone has been scuttling the ship. After Hammond and Kendra's confrontation about the marker, Isaac thinks to himself, Hammond is waiting for me in the captain's nest. It's clear that Kendra doesn't trust him. As for me, for the moment, I've got no choice. Isaac does not know Hammond or Kendra, their motives, their morals, so it isn't hard to see that he would feel this way. However, Isaac sees that he has a job to do, and that is the priority, otherwise they are all dead. As the transmission ends, Isaac thought to himself, Kendra thinks that she can create an agent that will poison and kill the creature on hydroponics, that is contaminating the life support systems. Biochemistry is a little bit out of my field, so I'll leave it to her. This entry shows that Isaac trusts Kendra and her skills to get them out of this deadly situation. After the battle with the hunter, Isaac's thoughts take an interesting turn. Mercer got away. I can only hope that one of his beloved necromorphs gets him before I do. Now that I've got the poison, it's time to go to the hydroponics deck and kill that leviathan creature before the air is totally contaminated. Isaac at this time would be angry, and rightfully so, seeming as Mercer not only created the unkillable necromorph, but he has also been making Isaac's life hell within this chapter. The good doctor has chosen his side, and Isaac in this entry sounds like he would love to have a one-on-one session with the doctor. Isaac thinks to himself after the poison does its work. The poison destroyed some of the corruption, enough to allow me inside food storage, but the Leviathan is still alive. One thing with this entry that interests me greatly is the corruption. So this confirms that people within the Dead Space universe, or at least Isaac, calls the necromorphs by their assigned names within the game files. Like how Glenn Schofield says in an interview, people who would go up against these things would be like, "Whoa, watch out for that slasher!" Which is normal for us to call things based on their behaviors, abilities, or appearances. After the battle with the Leviathan, Isaac thinks on his current situation. Finally, the ship seems stable. I've bought us enough time. Hopefully enough to find this SOS beacon. But even if we send out a distress signal, is anyone close enough to the system to hear it? In this entry, we can see that Isaac has a clear path ahead of him, but he is starting to doubt the likelihood of someone finding the SOS beacon, maybe turning hopeless. As Kendra gives Isaac his task, he would think to himself, Kendra located the mining access key on the processing subdeck. That must be where the mining supervisors died. I knew those men. I can't believe they're all dead. This entry can be seen to highlight Isaac's conflicts within his own mind, and his empathy to the deceased. He would be feeling the effects of grieving, seeing as he knew some of the mining crew on this deck. After the collision, Isaac had thought to himself, the military ship, it slammed into the Ishimura. Maybe some of the Marines are still alive and can help, but somehow I doubt it. Hammond says he's found a shuttle on the crew deck. I need to salvage a singularity core out of the military ship to repair the shuttle. There is still hope. Slim it may be. This entry highlights Isaac's mood from hopeless, doubting that the Marines had survived, keeping a realistic mindset judging from what he has witnessed so far. However, with the discovery of a shuttle on the crew deck, his mood changes to hopeful. Overlooking the cargo bay, Isaac was thinking to himself, the marker is stored in the cargo bay of the flight deck. I have to transfer it from there up to the hangar bay. Kendra seems more interested in the shuttle than in Kyne's plan to trap the hive mind. I can't really blame her. We need to get off the Ishimura. This shows Isaac's ambition is to get off the ship at all costs, probably not thinking about what he could find within the colony. After Kendra's betrayal to Isaac and he is able to find Nicole, he thinks to himself, Nicole's alive? I don't know how she tracked me here. And I don't care. Kendra betrayed me. This whole time, she was some kind of covert agent. She's murdered Kyne and taken the marker and the shuttle. If Nicole can help me get the marker back, I might still be able to end this nightmare. Isaac in this entry seems to have taken a step back, like the betrayal caught him completely off guard, and he never suspected it. As Isaac pilots the shuttle down to the colony, he would think on Nicole. Nicole is completely driven to return the marker to the colony. If we can continue with Kyne's plan and use it to trap the hive mind, we might just be able to survive this together. This shows off Isaac's end goal and that he truly believes that Nicole is alive. As Isaac moves through the corrupted environment of the colony, he would think on what Nicole told him. Nicole said something about a pedestal chamber. I need to bring the marker there and place it back onto the pedestal somehow. According to Dr. Kyne, that should force the hive mind back into the core of the planet. Kendra had said that the marker was responsible for starting the necromorph outbreak. Somehow it must have the power to also contain these creatures. Now this entry is interesting as it gives us the insight into the background lore of the hive mind, how colossal it is, and reinforces the original story that the marker was incidentally responsible for the outbreak, but it also has the power to contain them. And for the final journal entry, it reads as follows after the reveal that Nicole was a hallucination the whole time. Was Kendra right? Am I losing my mind? Nicole was dead this entire time? A hallucination created by the marker? This whole time it was the marker pushing me to return it to the planet. It is sentient and alive in some way. And now Kendra has it again. I've got to get back to the shuttle and get off this planet before the chunk of rock smashes into it. So from this journal entry we can see that the original story in Dead Space, Isaac personally had no clue that Nicole had died prior to joining the response team. Unfortunately shows no evidence of why he never watches the video to the end, but perhaps Isaac didn't watch the whole thing live and Nicole left him a message. And due to the lack of power within the ship, half of the transmission had corrupted and distorted the video. This is where Kendra could have investigated why Isaac never watched it to the end, and she may have used her expertise to fix the video log, but that's just my opinion. Isaac would act out of pure survival at this point because of the situation with the mass falling back into the planet, like the asteroid or comet that had wiped the dinosaurs out. He would not be able to survive this, so he wouldn't have the time to grieve and needed to get out of there, hence why the journal is brief instead of expanding on his personal thoughts. You may be asking why the rest of the journal entries were not included, and that was because most of them just talk about what he needs to do at those specific objectives, giving no other thoughts or where he is at inside of his mind or his emotions. However, these journal entries give us a little bit of insight into his mindsets, his flaring emotions, and what his priorities are within certain situations. However, if we look at all the journals from these points, they are rather distorted and can only really build a transparent character. However, I'm open to what all of you have to say with this character development regarding his journals. One thing I do want to say before ending this is that the last timeline video has reached its target and I am in the production of making a director's cut for my first timeline video. However, I will make an update video on that in the near future, but I will also be producing at least one video per week as well. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, then give the video a like rating. And let me know your thoughts below, and I look forward to hearing from you. Sign up to join the British Alliance today by subscribing and ringing in the notification bell for updates on future videos, streams and posts, and I will see all of you awesome people on the front lines, and have a good one.